I thought the last thing I'd ever see on my doorbell camera was my own reflection. But at 2:13 a.m., something else stared back. The footage froze on a darkened porch, the street lamp flickering overhead. A man, no taller than 6 feet, shoulders hunched, a hood pulled low, stood just beyond the white frame. He didn't move. His eyes, barely visible under the brim, seemed to lock onto the camera. The timestamp ticked forward, the night air silent except for the faint hum of the unit's infrared LEDs. I replayed it 3 times, the hair on my arms standing up each time I saw the slight tilt of his head, as if he were listening for a response that never came. I told myself it was a prank, a neighbor testing his own system. But the next night, at 2:14 a.m., the same figure appeared again, this time a few steps closer. The video showed him shuffle forward, the hood swaying with each deliberate step. He stopped at the edge of the porch, right where the door frame met the concrete. The camera's night vision caught a glint. Metal, perhaps a key or a thin screwdriver, held loosely in his right hand. He raised it, pointed it toward the lock, and the sound of his fingernails scraping against the brass was barely audible through the microphone. My heart hammered. I grabbed my phone, dialed 911, and whispered, "There's someone at my door." But the line cut before the operator could answer. My own voice sounded distant, echoing in the empty hallway as I stared at the screen. The man didn't try the knob. Instead, he lifted his hood, revealing a face half hidden in shadow. A scar ran from his eyebrow to his cheek, a jagged line that reminded me of a broken tooth. He looked directly into the camera, his gaze unwavering. I slammed the front door, bolted the lock, and turned on every light in the house. The hallway lights buzzed, casting long, trembling shadows. I could see the faint outline of my own breath in the cold air, hear the faint click of the lock mechanism settling. Outside, the night was still, the only movement the occasional rustle of leaves. The next morning I called the police. An officer arrived, flashlights cutting through the darkness, and examined the footage. "We've seen this before," he said, voice flat. "A series of break-ins. Always at night. Always the same person. He never makes it inside. He watches, waits, then leaves when someone answers." He handed me a printed still of the scarred face. "We'll keep an eye on the neighborhood, but until then, stay vigilant." I checked the footage again, this time on a laptop. There, in the background of the 2:14 a.m. clip, reflected faintly on the glass door, a second figure emerged. A thin silhouette, barely discernible, standing behind the hooded man. I froze. The second figure was never seen before, never acknowledged in the police report, just a darker shape, motionless, as if waiting for an opening. I turned off the computer, the room plunging into darkness. The doorbell light blinked once, then steadied. I lay awake, ears straining for any sound beyond the hum of the fridge. The night stretched on, and somewhere out there, a hooded silhouette lingered, perhaps watching the very same camera that now recorded my own breath, waiting for the next night to begin. Story 2. I never thought a cheap ring could turn my life into a live stream nightmare. The first time the doorbell rang at 3 in the morning, the video feed froze on a face I didn't recognize. Pale, eyes wide, mouth set in a thin line. I stared, heart hammering, and the screen went black for a heartbeat. When it snapped back, the man was still there, just a few feet away, his hands resting on the porch rail, as if he'd been waiting forever. Night 1, 2:47 a.m. The motion sensor lit up. A lone figure emerged from the shadowed driveway, his coat buttoned to his throat. He stopped half a step from the threshold, stared directly at the camera, then lifted his right hand. The fingers twitched, almost imperceptibly, like he was testing the lens. He didn't speak. He didn't move. After 30 seconds, he turned and vanished into the dark, leaving only his breath fogging the porch glass. I replayed it on my laptop, slowing it down frame by frame. The hand movement was deliberate. Each finger flexed a fraction of a second before he backed away. My breath caught. I couldn't shake the feeling that he'd been watching me longer than the 9 seconds the video recorded. Night 2, 3:12 a.m. The doorbell chirped again. This time the figure was closer, his silhouette filling the frame. He stood perfectly still, the only sound the distant hum of the streetlight. I could see the faint glow of his watch, a cheap digital model, blinking 00. He lifted his head, eyes locking onto the camera, and for a second his pupils dilated. Then he reached into his coat, pulled out a small rusted key, and held it up as if offering it to the lens. The key caught the porch light, flashing a dull, metallic glint. I slammed the door shut, heart racing, but the camera kept recording. The man lowered the key, tucked it away, and stepped back into the night, leaving the porch empty. I checked the timestamp. 3:12:04. No one else was on the street. No car passed, no dog barked, just the soft whir of the wind. Night 3. 4:03 a.m. The doorbell pinged a third time. The feed showed the porch door ajar, the lock turned halfway, the deadbolt exposed. I could hear the faint creak of wood, a soft sigh as the wind pushed the door open a fraction more. In the corner of the screen, the same man appeared. Not on the porch, but standing inside the hallway, just beyond the threshold, his back to the camera. He was now in my house. He didn't move. He just stood there, the hallway light flickering above him like a dying star. My phone buzzed with a notification. Motion detected. 99% confidence. I stared, frozen, as the camera's night vision turned the hallway into a green-tinged tunnel. The man lifted his head, and I saw his face for the first time. No eyes, just a void where eyes should have been. A smooth, featureless darkness. He opened his mouth slightly, as if to speak, but no sound came out. The screen cut to static. I scrambled to the door, the only way out. But the lock was already turned. The bolt pulled. I could hear the faint click of the lock disengaging behind me. My breath came in short bursts, each exhale fogging the glass. The camera's night vision flickered, then went dark. The next morning, I found my porch empty, the door locked, the lock still in the unlocked position. No footprints, no broken glass, nothing but the lingering hum of the camera that kept blinking offline. The footage was gone, overwritten by a single file labeled unknown_01.mp4. Unplayable, frozen at the moment the man lifted his head. I never turned the doorbell back on. The house feels larger now, the walls humming with an unseen presence that never speaks, never leaves. Every night, I hear the faint click of a lock disengaging, and the porch light flickers, as if waiting for the next visitor.